Mr. Magaziner, I'll start with you because I want to ask about some criticism you both faced. A super PAC affiliated with House Republicans has been mocking you as a rich, out-of-touch elitist who is going to Washington to give tax breaks to wealthy individuals. And it is no secret you come from one of Rhode Island's more well-connected families and grew up with a lot of advantages. How do you respond to this Republican criticism that you're out of touch with the concerns of the average voter?
Listen, none of us in life control the fate that we're born into, but what we do control, what each of us can choose to control, is what we fight for. And in my entire career, I have fought for working people. As a public school teacher, where I taught in a low-income school district, in a school building that was falling apart, where I had students, many of whom were walking home at the end of the day to empty houses because their parents were working 2 or 3 jobs. As state treasurer, where I have consistently fought to raise wages, expand benefits for working people, protect the right to organize, and cut the cost of living, and launched a state school construction program where we put more than 20,000 people to work fixing school buildings across the state. In contrast, Alan chose a long time ago to sell out to the big industries, starting when he was an insurance industry lobbyist. He opposed every single minimum wage increase in Rhode Island. He opposed raising the minimum wage from $7 to $8, then $8 to $10.10, then $10.10 to $15. How is somebody supposed to live on $7 an hour in this economy? They can't. He opposed the Affordable Care Act, said it should be overturned. He said that on your show, even though that means that 70,000 Rhode Islanders would lose their health insurance. He opposed the Inflation Reduction Act to cap the cost of prescription drugs.
We're getting away from the attacks on you on television.
But the point is this. I have spent my whole career fighting for working people in this state. He has spent his career siding with the deep-pocketed donors who fund his campaigns, including his dumb campaign commercials, and every single time there's been a big issue in Rhode Island that impacts working people, he has taken the side of the corporate interests that fund him, not the side of Rhode Island workers.
Well, I'll let you respond to the criticism, but I'll say, do you stand by the way they're criticizing Seth Magaziner in the Republican super PAC ads that are supporting you?
I don't coordinate with super PACs. My ads.
But you've seen the ads. You know what they're saying.
Ted, but I don't coordinate with super PACs. Whatever their messaging is their messaging. I've always stayed positive, talking about who I am, reminding them, and quite frankly, I don't appreciate the quote that they're dumb ads, because you know what? It's who I am. I'm a lighthearted person. I can laugh at myself, and I want to remind people about the great work we did in Cranston, taking a city that was on the brink of financial, distress, turning it around by, working together and bringing common sense solutions to make it one of the best cities to live in America. I'm proud of a lot of that. Let's take a look at what's out of touch and how we got into politics in the first instance. When I first got started, when I ran for governor or anything else, my family, my mom, Tan Ping, who's sitting in that, front row there, my dad, my sisters, the most they gave me is $1,000. I don't have a family that somehow miraculously, unlike Seth, can finance and give himself at just 30 years old, $800,000 to start his career in politics. Those are the answers that he's never been held accountable to. But most importantly, he's doubled down right now. And talking about out of touch, he is supporting the failed policies of Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi that is crippling this economy, putting us into this cost of living crisis where, in the short 2 years that Biden's been in office, home heating oil has gone up by 97% in 2 years. This is what Rhode Islanders are facing, a winter where people can be frozen out of their homes, not being able to, feed their families or get essential items that they need for their everyday lives. This is an economy that he wants to continue to support with these failed policies from the president and speaker.
Well, and the $800,000 to your first campaign, that has come up a lot, Mr. Magaziner. What do you say to that?
Well, listen, Alan's put $200,000 of his own money into his campaigns through the years. But if you want to talk about campaign money, the big difference, again, is this. Look at who is supporting my campaign and who is supporting his, if you really want to know who's fighting for working people. I am supported by organizations that represent construction workers and nurses and teachers, working people. He is supported by the drug industry because they know that he opposes capping the bill that would cap the cost of prescription drugs. He's supported by the insurance industry because they know that he'll continue to be in their pocket as a former insurance industry lobbyist and not do enough to keep healthcare costs down. And his ads are supported by the oil industry that is price gouging people, making hundreds of billions of dollars while Rhode Islanders are being overcharged for gas. Think about this for just a second.
Briefly.
Think about this for just a second. When you were paying $5 a gallon for gas this summer, money that was your hard-earned money, some of that money was ending up in his campaign account because he was funded by the big oil.
All right, Mr.
How messed up is that?
20 seconds on that. I have a different question for you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Again, here we go again, Seth, with his lies. $200,000. I don't have $200,000 to put into my campain.
That's how much you loaned into your campaigns.
Please,
it's true.
please, ladies and gentlemen.
I think your team needs to understand how Google and Wikipedia, works, because quite honestly,
Try the Board of Elections,
I've never
the
put in
campaign finance
$200,000.
I want to ask you about
Sure.
a different
But
question.
Can I just respond briefly? But I am proud of the people that are supporting me. It's the hardworking people of the 2nd District, that are hurting right now, especially our business owners. I'm proud to be supported by the small business community, NFIB. Proud to be supported by many of the businesses that create thousands of jobs to help support our economy.
So the
Let me ask you, Mr.
Magaziner,
Magaziner, please, Mr. Magaziner. Mr. Fung, I want to ask you, you are running, as you've talked about on your record in Cranston, and anyone who follows the news knows Cranston's had some financial difficulties recently. The Providence Journal reported the city had to hike taxes and cut jobs due to a $12 million structural deficit. They weren't even able to open the Budlong Pool this summer. If you did leave Cranston in such good shape, why did they run into financial trouble so quickly after you left?
I can only speak for myself and, my time during as mayor, and I can tell you right now, I am very proud of that Cranston turnaround. We left with one of the millions in the rainy day fund. We had the highest bond rating the city's had in decades. We made sure we invested in our schools, invested in our recreation programs for our kids. And most importantly, during that time, in order to take the city from the red with one of the highest tax rates in the state to where we are 12 years later in the middle of the pack, we reined in spending. That's the record that I'm very proud of, and the Cranston voters, Cranston residents know that story, and that's why I was overwhelmingly reelected in a Democratic city
so you
several times.
You don't bear any responsibility for the finance of the city barely a year after you left?
Ted, I'm telling you the condition of the city when I was there. That's all I can speak to. And that's why I want to take those same skills that I had with the issues that I tackled down to Washington, D.C., because we do have the same problems that I inherited when I first got into office in Cranston. Out of control spending that's heating up this economy to 40-year record highs because of the policies of the people that he wants to continue serving as president and as speaker, Nancy Pelosi. We've got to get that in check. We've got to become energy independent. We've got to get people back to work. That's my track record.
All right.